Dear citizens, asteroid Dina is going to collide with Earth in 300 days. As NASA announced, the Korean Peninsula will unfortunately be the impact location.
This is the story of the last days of the people in our town.
NASA's Rob Simon made this, and it had wide appeal too. For example, it ended up as the default background on the iPhone.
I didn't even know until I bought an iPhone. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
What's this?
You update that thing every day, huh? What, are you happy? Looking forward to D-Day or something?
What did I tell you? 88 miles per hour!
It's not true.
Dear Boomtown citizens, we hope you have a safe day.
Open your books.
We gotta keep an eye on the kids.
What are you doing out?
You're out late too, though, aren't you?
Well, I'm not a kid.
No fair. It's not like I'll get to grow up.
Miss Jean, did you see any creepy-looking guys waiting outside on your way over here?
Have you seen any men out there like that?
Jailbreakers, armed imposters, low-life gangsters.
If I had to choose, I would spend every day we have left hunting each of those bastards down and punishing them for my son.
Together. Until the end.
Dear citizens, asteroid Dina is going to collide with Earth in 300 days. As NASA announced, the Korean Peninsula will unfortunately be the impact location. Therefore, the government will set up a migration plan. Until then, to protect the lives of the citizens. As of midnight of April 29, 2025, martial law will be declared nationwide.
So sorry to bother you. You must be Amanda.
Why did you come here?
In my line of work, you have to understand the patterns that govern the world. They can help you see the future. And I knew something was coming.
I don't understand. What do you mean?
We are seeing ongoing cyber attacks across the country.
The truth is much scarier.
What is the truth?
When I was talking with the gentleman from Belcom, and we were discussing the lie, everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything. None of it was true. I really don't think people realize how deep the lie goes.
Space, the final frontier.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
We're gonna be okay, right?
We're gonna be okay, right?
Aren't you the one who always said, if you're not paranoid by now, it's too late?
Dock Pod, Battalion 6, and Communications. I'm in Fort Armistead. Be advised, the entire bridge, the entire key bridge is in the harbor. I advise to hold all traffic from coming to the bridge. I advise again, the entire key bridge has fallen into the harbor.
Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsing into the water. This happening just around 1:30 this morning.
The discussion right now should be about the people, the souls, the lives that we're trying to save.
For everyone who is offering prayers and supports, I can tell you those prayers are working and we are grateful.
There is absolutely no indication that there's any terrorism, that this was done on purpose.
Divers recovered 2 victims of this tragedy. The victims were identified as Alejandro Hernandez Fuentes and Dorlian Ranial Castillo Cabrera.
Divers have recovered the body of a third construction worker, 38-year-old Maynor Suazo Sandoval.
I'm here to say your nation has your back, and I mean it.
Haven't you been picking up on what's going on out there? We've all been deserted.
There is no going back to normal.
Oh, Mr. Thompson. What if your wife finds out?
Where did my Christian limo driver go?
Mr. Thompson, what's happening?
It's the rapture, Shauna. The rapture. The virtuous have gone to heaven, and the rest of us have been left below. We must suffer through the apocalypse.
I thought all religions were a path to God. I was wrong! What if the rapture is coming and I haven't led a good enough life?
God wouldn't spring the rapture on us unannounced. He'd send us signs like, I don't know, all the dogs getting on a spaceship and leaving.
Marge is right. The rapture isn't coming. There haven't been any ominous signs.
Follow me.
Blood is raining from the sky!
Hang on there, big fella. We'll save you.
No one knows what's going on, why this happens, but yeah, it's pretty sad.
A sad sight indeed. 4 pods of whales, totaling about 160 pilot whales, washed up on the beaches of Western Australia. More than 100 volunteers hit the sand to help the marine mammals find their way back home.
Keep going, keep turning it. We need to get his breathe hole out. There we go, let him breathe.
Scientists don't understand exactly why whales become stranded on beaches, but it's a sight that unfortunately is becoming more regular.
Judgment Day is at hand. 3:15 p.m., May 18th. That's when the rapture will begin.
May 18th? That's 1 week from today.
The world will end next week!
Homer, what turned you from sad drunk to mad monk?
Funny story, Kent. It's the end of the world! God loves you! He's gonna kill you!
I see. Well, we have 30 seconds left. Any other cuckoo yip yap?
Oh, here's one. Revelation 6:13. Just before the rapture, the stars will fall to the earth.
Honey, I'm glad you're getting exercise. I just wish it wasn't crazy exercise.
Marge, in a world gone mad, only a lunatic is truly insane. Let's all take off our sandwich boards and watch TV.
Live
Live from Springfield Stadium, it's Krusty the Clown Celebrity Salute to Special Blue Angels.
I don't want to die next to Kathy Griffin. The stars are falling to the earth.
Cities are reeling as the meteor storm, zombie epidemic, and alien encounters continue unabated. Safe to say, this is the
Best week ever.
What are you doing? Run!
It's the week of greatness. What you doing?
It's really happening! This is the real thing!
Nah, man. This is the real thing.
Are you wearing the new Icon Clash?
I need this in a size 8.
I need a 6.
I need this in 16.
Hello there, my name is Jim Henson, and I'm a puppeteer.
Sesame Street. The Muppets. Dark Crystal. Labyrinth. Jim created out of innocence. He showed people the good in all of us.
In 9 hours and 23 minutes, you'll be mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Holy See, followed by the national anthem of the United States.
By 9:23, the water of life shall proceed forth from the throne of the Lamb, and the day of the Lord shall be...
Is this a 9 to 5 job?
Yeah, it's every moment of one's life kind of job, I suppose.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side?
From a very early age, he had the feeling that he was here for a purpose.
Howdy. Characters come about from many different ways. It was my mother's coat and a ping pong ball. That's how it all started.
He had so many ideas and so many things he wanted to do. His inner life must have been sparkling.
The space he gave to an expression of imagination, I see that in everything that he did.
I love you.
I love you too.
Tonight, we start with a live look from Chopper 8 as the building on the Oceanside Pier is still smoldering after a fire broke out yesterday afternoon. You can see just how much damage this fire has caused. We've been following the story closely from the start. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee. Fire crews from multiple agencies are still battling the flames after more than 24 hours. Let's get right to Brian White, who's live in Oceanside tonight. Brian, you've been out there for hours now. What new details are we learning about the situation tonight?
Well, Marcella, as far as damage, we know that the end of the pier, the last 5% that houses the restaurant, is more or less a total loss at this point. Now, firefighters on the pier today were busy peeling back debris from the restaurant so that the boats in the water could better access active areas of the fire with their water hoses. A charred outer shell is all that remains of the old Ruby's Diner, with a collapsed roof here as several boat crews continued pouring water on it this afternoon.
We like to stand back, kind of let's see what starts to burn. Once we saw active burning, we could see where the fire was taking place. That's when we would re-engage with the water.
The fire was reported at about 3 o'clock yesterday inside the vacant restaurant, sending large plumes of smoke into the air. Firefighters attacking the blaze from boats in the water and choppers from above. Crews then made a trench cut across the pier, which prevented the fire from spreading, saving 90 to 95% of the pier.
When I saw the images and the videos yesterday at around this time, I was concerned that the pier would be a total loss. But because of their hard work, we're going to be able to save most of this pier.
According to Oceanside Fire Chief David Parsons, the end of the pier was fully open to the public yesterday before the fire. And he says the old Ruby's Diner kitchen was actually being used to support a little fish shack on the end of the pier.
What used to be the Ruby's restaurant wasn't a remodel status. It wasn't like a derelict building or an abandoned building in any way. In fact, the kitchen area was under use to support the brine box.
Cleanup crews were busy picking up debris on the beach that had washed ashore from the pier. A water contact closure remains in effect around the pier due to contamination from the fire, spanning from Surf Rider Way north of the pier to Tyson Street on the south end. As far as the cause of the fire, that's still under investigation, but Chief Parsons says they're getting closer to a preliminary determination.
The team is starting to narrow in on a location based on video evidence and the signs of fire evidence that they have. And I think they're starting to get a little closer towards potential cause.
88 miles per hour!
Thanks.
Rainbows are visions, but only illusions.
There was nothing that Jim didn't entertain. And everything was getting a little bit bigger.
Becoming famous was what he wanted, that there was an innocence getting lost, was going to impact his relationship with us and everything, and that was complex.
He wanted to do more than is humanly possible.
That idea that time could run out was just unthinkable.
What's your problem?
I got you.
Not today. Is it dead?
Glass not dead.
Hell yeah.
We are continuing our coverage of a new and deadly infectious disease.
The virus has some genetic elements of the Nipah virus.
The care of these patients requires extraordinary effort.
We cannot and will not voluntarily take patients from other hospitals.
The creation and intentional release of the Clade X virus.
The impact of not doing something has lots of consequences.
We can't retreat from the rest of the world.
Continuity of government here cannot be overestimated.
A federal quarantine of this scale is unprecedented.
The question everywhere, when will there be a vaccine?
We have got to engage the private sector.
Thank you, sir. Here you are, sir. Thank you.
They know that we don't have a vaccine yet. They want vaccines to be prioritized.
I would not want to pull those people back.
And we need on the ground to be able to assure protection of our first responders.
This is a non-starter. I'm going to need these people. I got this feeling in a whole lot of other places.
More than 40 countries are reporting outbreaks, and many more are suspected of having cases.
Leadership requires doing things that are oftentimes unpopular.
This issue has the amazing capacity to be number 11 on anybody's list of 10 most important items.
We have been unbelievably weakened by this crisis.
What the world will look like when it's done is still very uncertain.
Scientists in the UK have been working on a vaccine to fend off disease X. But what is it? This is the new state-of-the-art research centre hidden in a secretive facility in Wiltshire. A team of 200 are preparing vaccines for a mysterious disease X. It hasn't actually been identified yet. That's just a term first coined in 2018 to describe a theoretical virus. Scientists warn there's a more than 1 in 4 chance of another global pandemic in the next decade, so the UK wants to be ready. They're battling dangerous Category 3 viruses.
Hey, buddy. You gonna pay for that or what? Look, buddy, I don't want no hassle today. Either pay for it or put it back.
Performing out of space?
Yes, next July.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, I can't change these plans.
We're stealing in the sun next summer. Heist of a lifetime.
The Olympics.
Come on, you in?
Roman Reigns will defend his title against anyone, anytime.
Except next July.
Vigilante is just a man lost in the scramble for his own gratification. He can be destroyed. But if you make yourself more than just a man, then you become something else entirely. Which is? Legend restoring. As a man, from flesh and blood, I can be destroyed, but as a symbol, I can be incorruptible. I can be everlasting. He's here. Who? The Batman. Through theatrics made an impression. What's that? Oh, you wouldn't be interested in that.
Do you record while the bus is moving, or does it have to come to a stop before
Yeah, well, sometimes they don't want to, and they're, Gaga, we can't get, the frequency's weird, and, it's sounding a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna, I get a little bit mad.
Who wants to pray to the devil with me?
I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to thank Satan.
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
On behalf of Amy, I'd like to thank the devil and all the dark lords who
Don't do the devil stuff.
gave her this award and allowed her to feast on the flesh of the innocent.
Good evening, godless sodomites.
What are you doing?
I'm bringing the truth, John. We're in Hollywood, the belly of the beast.
You can't just read the prompter?
I'm reading the prompter in here. You can read that pablum.
Award show banter is not pablum. Reality television celebrates the human condition.
By illuminating what's extraordinary in the ordinary person.
I'm going to show the people of Gotham their city doesn't belong to the criminals and the corrupt.
The hero Gotham deserves is a silent guardian, a dark knight.
Gotham City is proud of an ordinary citizen standing up for what's right.
Appointed the Batman.
All of us who stood by and let scum take control of our city.
It's about what's fair!
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Grows too wild, purging fire is inevitable.
This is how crazy Batman's made Gotham.
I was meant to inspire good, not madness, not death. No one can save Gotham.
And we take fingerprints. We also provide them with a swab for getting a DNA swab, and we also provide them with imprint where they can get an imprint of the child's teeth. So not only does it provide DNA as well as a swab, but it is also a source if you were using tracking dogs to provide a scent for the child.
You may be surprised to see who we found using tricks to cover up their license plates.
Apparently, they're law enforcement.
You know, in Hollywood and in the industry and the stuff we do, there's a lot of like insider secrets to keeping your career going, and a lot of insider secrets to making things tick.
It warps the minds of our children and weakens the resolve of our allies.
The results are often dramatic and always unexpected. We're here to honor achievement in that category.
By giving you a golden idol to worship. Kneel before your God, Babylon!
Let's play some video, if we could, please, of a pretty stunning moment. Jim was talking about the publicity of this and how much we're seeing, but do you see that that chain around, the gold necklace around the President Trump's neck there? Well, Saudi King Salman presented that to the president. It's a gold medal. The collar of Abdulaziz Al Saud is what it's called, and it's the nation's highest honor.
We are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
And we give it back to you, the people.
For too long, a small group in our nation's capital
are corrupt,
has reaped the rewards of government,
the rich,
while the people have borne the cost.
The oppressors of generations who have kept you down with myths of opportunity.
The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country.
And do you accept the resignation of all of these liars, of all the corrupt?
That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you.
None shall interfere. Do as you please.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The United States of America.
It will endure.
Andrew, we want to update you on a surprise visit that the president made just after those primetime remarks in the Rose Garden last hour. Following his comment that he would be visiting a sacred place, he left the White House and walked with his attorney general, his chief of staff, the secretary of defense, his press team, his daughter, and his son-in-law across Lafayette Park, the area of the nation's capital that had just moments before that been cleared with tear gas and rubber pellets where peaceful protesters had been. The president here is appearing in front of St. John's Church. It's known as the President's Church. Every president has attended services there. President Trump and his family went to a service on Inauguration Day at St. John's Church, and it sustained a fire overnight. The president's former director of national intelligence and ambassador to Germany tweeted that this is a moment of hope triumphing over fear. But intended or not, Andrew, this does send another message that the president is willing to do whatever is within his power to vacate premises as needed. Here he is returning to the White House in a pretty remarkable image, flanked on either side by law enforcement, followed by his staff after that visit to St. John's Church across the park.
Welcome. This is Tom Fedoruk. I'm a senior guide at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. My favorite part of being a guide is helping our visitors to discover the small details that they might otherwise miss. We'll be looking at one on this virtual tour. It's right here in the cathedral's central portal, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. They form the base of the sculpture of St. John. Even though they couldn't be more front and center, visitors sometimes overlook them. Let's start by taking a closer look at the entire work. The limestone sculpture of St. John is 8.5 feet tall. It is the work of John Angel, a British-American sculptor. It was dedicated in 1947. What do you think John is looking at? Not down at us, not outward at the city. No, he's gazing up to the heavens. He's experiencing the visions that he will write down with the pen and paper he holds in his hands.
Well, Halloween has always been one of my favorite holidays, and I guess really my favorite holiday. Ghosts and goblins and witches and all the traditional elements of Halloween really appeal to me in a big way.
John is the writer of Revelation, the final book of the Christian Bible. In the original Greek, Revelation's name is Apocalypse, which means unveiling. For centuries, Revelation has been a source of comfort to those who suffer from war, oppression, or injustice. John writes of the coming of a new heaven and a new earth, the New Jerusalem, where, in the words of Revelation, God will wipe away every tear, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things are passed away. But John also writes about the time before the coming of the New Jerusalem, when the world is afflicted by wars, famines, plagues, and other horrors.
Really, zap people aggressively with those things. Don't just sort of apologize for yourselves as you're going down. No apologies. You are what you are.
These catastrophes are introduced by the small figures we see beneath the feet of St. John, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. What a contrast between these dynamic figures and the prophet who stands above them. John stands motionless, transfixed by his visions. The horsemen lunge forward with propulsive force. Their mission is urgent, as we can tell from the intensity of their facial expressions.
I had become an artist in residence up at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, and was involved with a lot of events up there. And somewhere along the line, we got the idea of doing a Halloween thing. I think they had been playing old silent films during the summertime with the cathedral organist. And the thought of doing one of the old horror movies seemed like a great idea, but they wanted to sort of flesh it out. And I came on board for that.
Look how they grimly fix their gaze on the horizon. Their windblown hair signals velocity. At the same time, the hair streaming above suggests a sky heavy with the clouds of a gathering storm. The horses lower their heads, as horses do when they clear a jump. As we look up at them from below, they seem to be hurtling over a precipice. Where have the horsemen come from, and what is their mission? In a historical sense, they come from the Hebrew Bible, or Old Testament. Although Revelation is part of the New Testament, many scholars regard Revelation as a continuation of the prophetic tradition of the Hebrew Bible. The writer of Revelation was steeped in the writings of the prophets. About 2/3 of Revelation's 404 verses refer to one or another of the Hebrew prophets, and particularly to Ezekiel, Daniel, and the one we see here, Zechariah. Here we see Zechariah in Michelangelo's fresco for the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Even though the book of Zechariah was written 500 years before Revelation, the two scriptures have many elements in common. Both prophets meet angels who guide them through a series of mysterious visions. John has a vision of 4 horsemen, Zechariah with 4 charioteers. Here we see Zechariah's vision in an engraving that Gustave Doré created for an 1866 edition of the Bible.
And that has continued to be a real wonderful venue for all my Halloween critters.
Four is an important number in both the Hebrew prophets and Revelation. 4 is the number of the created world. Each of Zechariah's 4 chariots speed off to the 4 compass points. Each chariot is drawn by horses of different colors, white, red, black, dappled. As we'll see, Revelation's 4 horses are also of different colors. Zechariah's charioteers are the predecessors of Revelation's 4 horsemen, but Revelation adds an important feature. Zechariah does not name or describe his charioteers, but John makes each horseman an individual. Do you see how John Angel has differentiated one horseman from another?
I grew up in Vermont, in Middlebury, Vermont, and fall was always a very special kind of dramatic time of the year there. The color of the leaves was always so spectacular, and trick-or-treating was a wonderful thing to do in a community like that, going through the streets in the dark. They actually had a Halloween parade, so having the right costume was really important, and I made my first masks for this Halloween parade. It was just a very special time.
The first and fourth cry out as they ride. The second and third ride with jaws clenched. The fourth is bare-chested, the second wears armor. The first is clean-shaven, the others have facial hair. Each horseman inflicts a different misery on the world, symbolized by the object the horseman holds in his hand. The first horseman personifies conquest. Revelation describes him going forth conquering and to conquer, riding a white horse, wearing a crown and holding an archer's bow. Here we see him on the left. He is wearing a coronet, a small crown, hard to see from the angle of this photo. He holds an archer's bow. We wonder, why a bow and not some other weapon? To understand the bow, it helps to have a little historical background. John wrote Revelation in the late 1st century. His first readers were members of the early Christian communities of the Eastern Roman Empire. At this time, Rome was the master of the entire Mediterranean, but to the east, on the plains of Iran, was the Parthian Empire. Parthians were fierce warriors renowned for their horsemanship and archery. Here, we see one executing the acrobatic maneuver known as the Parthian shot, as depicted on a 5th century bowl. One of the few wars the Romans ever lost had been with the Parthians. The Parthians were a potential threat to overrun the eastern frontier of the Roman Empire. The original readers of Revelation, living in the shadow of a possible Parthian invasion, would have understood full well why the horseman of conquest carries a bow.
The cathedral it's a great space. It is so high vaulted. Big puppets really can stretch out. All these creatures that I've made really feel at home there.
The second horseman personifies war. He wears armor and rides a red horse. Revelation says, he was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that men should slay one another, and he was given a great sword. Wars disrupt agriculture and trade. Food becomes scarce and expensive. It follows then that the third horseman is famine. He rides a black horse and holds scales for measuring out grain. As he appears, a voice cries out, "Quart of wheat for a denarius and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius." A denarius was a day's wage in the Roman Empire. At these prices, only the wealthy can eat, while the poor starve. Before we turn to the fourth horseman, let's revisit the colors of the horses, seen here in a modern window in the Cathedral of Clermont-Ferrand in the south of France. A white horse for conquest, red for war, black for famine. The same colors as in Zechariah. But for the fourth horseman, John abandons Zechariah's color scheme. The fourth horseman of Revelation rides what has traditionally been called a pale horse. But the Greek word that John uses, chloros, actually denotes a pale green color, as we see in this window. A sickly green, the color of decomposing flesh.
The architecture of it, is so kind of ancient. There are always the little dark corners here and there. I think that to have something as sort of bizarre and colorful as that happening in a church is something that really I think people hunger for it, actually.
For the fourth horseman is death. Behold a pale horse, and its rider was death, and Hades followed him. And they were given power over 1/4 of the earth, to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. With these words, Revelation introduces the fourth horseman.
The audience has always been really responsive. I feel like they really want to, sometimes literally embrace these figures, but but also maybe figuratively as well. They really would like to play with them. The kind of joy and reinforcement it gives you that's new each time. There have been people who've been appalled by it, but if our Lord can't withstand a few silly little demons, give me a break.
Text does not associate any particular object with death. Nevertheless, artists through the centuries have put one thing or another into the fourth horseman's hand. Here we see images from the 14th, 15th, and 19th centuries where death holds a sword, a pitchfork, and a sickle. John Angel exercised his own artistic license when he sculpted the fourth horseman. Look at what he placed in death's hand. He created this work in the immediate aftermath of the Second World War. Millions of tons of bombs were dropped in that war.
Sentence me to 20 years of boredom for trying to change the system from within. I'm coming now, I'm coming to reward them. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin.
Was die Attentäter betrifft, die in Berlin den Anschlag auf die deutsch-arabische Gesellschaft verübt haben, ist die Polizei einen Schritt weitergekommen, der nach dem Anschlag auf die
They sentenced me to 20 years of boredom for trying to change the system from within. I'm coming now, I'm coming to reward them. First, we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin.
And here in slide 18, this is Bernini's canopy where the Pope sits. Now, underneath this, it's the representation of the Holy of Holies, blasphemously so. And in this representation, this would be in the Holy of Holies where the Ark of the Covenant would sit. And this is where the Pope blasphemously portrays himself to be sitting there in the Holy of Holies. And in this next slide, number 19, you can see the close-up of the pedestals that are underneath this twisted column that are there to represent Solomon's temple. And this thing is huge. It's several stories high. I mean, this thing is huge. And there on this pedestal at the bottom of these twisted columns, in slide 20 here, we have the 8 faces that are on the pedestals. And these 8 faces are faces of women that are giving birth, women in childbirth. And I believe the obvious symbolism here, this is just like Pope Joan bringing forth her child. I believe that this symbolism represents the birth that will come and of the final one that's going to sit underneath this canopy. And all of this symbolism and all of this scripture, it tells us a consistent story. Now, one more thing I want to read for you from a book entitled The Mysteries of Magic by Eliphas Levi. And this is kind of the grand crescendo. And he is the fella that did the wood carving of the Baphomet, which we showed you earlier. And he was a Catholic priest that got thrown out of the Catholic Church. And you got to be pretty bad to get thrown out of the Catholic Church, but he was. And he was a black magician, and he wrote the textbooks on black magic. And in this book, he talks about when he was in Paris, there was this fella that came in there by the name of Eugene Ventris. And to make a long story short, he had his priest robes on that had a phallic symbol on his head, and he performed a miraculous communion. And he not only performed a miraculous communion, but he imparted to Eliphas Levi the ability to perform this. I'll just read a little bit of here, just briefly. Okay. Where I want to read here. Okay. On page 456, it says, thousands of hosts appear on altars where there were none. Wine sparkles in empty chalices, and it is no delusion. It is a wine, a delicious wine. Celestial music is heard. The fragrance of another world diffuses itself, and finally, blood, true human blood, which doctors have examined, exudes and sometimes flows copiously from the host, leaving mysterious characters thereon. And he goes on for several pages talking about the occult miracles this guy did and how this blasphemous mass, and this is the Luciferian mass that I believe will be performed underneath this canopy in the final go-round. And this is something all the way back, before we even studied any of this out, back in 2001, I believe, Donna said she had a revelation from God. And always when someone says that, I'm going to try it, no matter who it is. But she said she believed that the Lord revealed to her that the final worship of the false prophet was going to be a miraculous Luciferian mass where the wine would turn to real blood and the flesh would turn to real meat. And on our website, our new website, which Don and David Yoder worked so hard on, we have pictures there on our website of this actually happened. It happened in the Vatican with John Paul. It happens regularly. And this is something that has happened for a long time. And Eliphas Levi and other occult masters that are in this Luciferian priesthood, they perform this. This has been going on for a long, long time.
I'm guided by a signal in the heavens. I'm guided by the birthmark on my skin. I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons. First, we take Manhattan. Then we take Berlin.
John Angel sculpted the four horsemen as human beings. I mention this obvious fact because not everyone who reads Revelation imagines them that way. Take a look at these pop culture images of the four horsemen as supernatural supervillains. John Angel might have taken this approach, but instead chose naturalism over theatricality. Look at their faces. Step into the coffee shop across the street from the cathedral, and you will see faces just like these. Ordinary human faces. For what the four horsemen represent does not originate from the world of the supernatural. War, oppression, and inequality are miseries that humanity inflicts upon itself.
Everything in the Bible is being fulfilled today. Revelation 17 and 18 reveals that there's no hope. You must come out of Babylon the Great. You must come out of the beast system And that means the vast majority of Protestant churches also. They are no longer part of the Reformation. They're in apostasy. They're under the power of the Vatican. That includes Anglicanism, Baptism, Methodism, every ism. The Methodist Church is Romanized, Jesuitized, Illuminized, all under the power of Rome. Most of the Pentecostal churches are. So don't just think I'm talking about the Vatican, you know, controlling governments and controlling all religions. No, it's a worldwide conspiracy. Worldwide. That's right. And the Muslims will be used to destroy and attack Israel, but obviously they will be under the power of Russia, Gog and Magog through the Eurasian Union. That's the truth. The Vatican will use Islam to be its sword of inquisition, bringing about the destruction of Rome, the destruction of Mecca, Medina, and even the Jerusalem mosques and the Dome of the Rock. We're about to enter the Great Tribulation, and we have to lift up our voice and expose this great Jesuit world conspiracy. And the true murderers are our presidents, they are our prime ministers, they are our leaders. Those that we think we elect into office, they are our enemy.
Just a few steps away from the Four Horsemen, you enter the cathedral. It is a place of peace, filled with soft light and radiant color.
We're here this evening at the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine in New York City for the annual Halloween extravaganza. Around 3,000 people at each of two showings gather in this massive space for the event. Being the largest Gothic cathedral in the world, this is a great space for this show. Here's some pre-show entertainment. Then there's an old silent movie shown. Tonight is a 1922 classic, Nosferatu. It's accompanied by the great organ.
Like its medieval predecessors, the cathedral is made in the image of the New Jerusalem, and it has long been our cathedral's mission to make John's vision of the heavenly city an earthly reality. The gospel of justice, equality, and peace is central to St. John the Divine's many ministries and programs, in the hope that oppression, injustice, and war shall pass away and be no more. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll watch our other virtual tours, and if you can, visit us in person. And when you do, don't forget to look for the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse on our western facade.
Then the highlight of the evening, the March of the Ghouls. These are really great costumes and wonderful acting. It's accompanied by Tim Blumfield playing the great Aeolian Skinner organ.
They are the true murderers. They are the ones that are bringing destruction across the face of the earth.
He's come out of nowhere and we don't know who he is.
What do we know about him?
He's leading desperate people.
So this is a cult?
We don't know who he's associated with. He could be creating an army. Or he could be leading them to their death.
What are you doing in Syria? Delivering a message. A message from whom? My father. And who is your father?
We've lost it.
What do you mean?
He just disappears.
No one just disappears.
We all witnessed a miracle.
saved my daughter's life.
You need to see this.
Bury it for as long as you can. He didn't just click his heels and end up here. He clearly had help.
You get around Syria, Israel, Texas. It's the nature of my work.
And what is that work?
God's work.
Who do you think he is?
You didn't see what I saw.
And if I did, would I be calling him the second coming?
How far will this new movement spread?
I'm going to find out everything about you.
This is bigger than what you can imagine.
What's heaven?
It's a peaceful place in the sky.
Are you going to heaven?
No.
Why not?
You gotta be a good person to go to heaven.
10 years ago today, the artificial intelligence created to protect us detonated a nuclear warhead in Los Angeles. For as long as AI is a threat, we will never stop hunting them. This is a fight for our very existence.
Whatever's in there, they're sure worried about someone getting in.
Yeah, already getting out.
We're the same. We can't go to heaven because you're not good. And I'm not a person.
Did you locate the weapon?
Yeah, it's a kid.
Seatbelts.
What do you want with the child? We are this close to winning the war.
Those are some highlights from this year's Halloween extravaganza at the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine in New York City.
Execute her, or we go extinct.
They're coming to get me.
the elites are not like us. They look like us, they act like us, but they're not like us. They are fundamentally different. They think different, and most importantly, they have different wants and needs, different desires. But at the end of the day, I'm just presenting what I find. It does not mean I'm right. Go out and do your own research, form your own conclusions, and come to your own opinions. These are just the dots I connect. I'm just an armchair researcher.